All right, so Heather here with Underwater Panther. I certainly had a freak out moment yesterday while filming Taurus or the ESTJ. I thought that I had to do a lot more editing, and it was literally just the title. So, yeah, I ended off on page 39 of my notes and thought that I had to redo 50 pages of notes. I was tossing back and forth, arguing with myself about the inner and outer masculine and feminine of Taurus. To me, Taurus comes off masculine. The psychological people would argue that they are top 5 or 6 masculine, and they are ranked lower in my system of the masculine and feminine ranking. And so I really just sat here and was arguing with myself for a few hours while I was writing my script for the moral load bearing videos for Taurus. So, yeah, I still have not changed my mind on where I'm going with this. So it literally came down to changing the title of, the multiple pages and paragraphs of that section. So yeah, anyways, that was interesting. So the last video I cut it off, and this is video 2 of Taurus, the embodied and stability carrier. So I'm just going to do a very brief intro. I don't have much time. It's been a chaotic couple of days. So anyways, the work I do on this channel lives at the intersection of astro-psychology, moral cognition, nervous system containment, polarity mechanics, and power dynamics across psyche and culture. I don't just study personality traits, I study consequence and conscience architecture. How responsibility distributes, how stability is created or avoided, how nervous systems regulate threat, and how people metabolize reality or escape it. Most people talk about comfort. I talk about containment. Most people talk about security. I talk about who actually holds the ground when things destabilize. Because Taurus isn't just about pleasure. Taurus is about survival continuity, and that distinction matters. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my key card if I can find it. Where are you? Okay, here we go. All right, so there's Taurus. Okay, so I am going to literally skip the rest of my introduction. I did that in the prior video, so definitely the starting point for this would be the prior video. So start there, and then I will see you back here. So I'm going to get back to page 39 of my Taurus notes. Give me 1 second here. I was going to say a little bit more, but all right, so there's that. Let me get back into my master keynotes here, and I will bring that up on the screen. All right, let's see where we're at. All right, so hopefully I'm always having to move around due to the... Wait, 1 sec. Okay, there we go. Shaking the whole world. Okay, so I am going to jump back in. Actually, I made a couple more notes because I really battled with the inner and outer masculine. So let me show you where I'm at first of all. Okay, so inner feminine, this is Taurus's distortion arc when they are developing through childhood, adulthood, etc. So the correct order for healthy integration should be outer feminine, inner masculine, outer masculine. So I'm not going to start all over and get deep dive. So we're talking inner containment for this specific archetype. So the healthy order is outer feminine, inner masculine, outer masculine. Perception, safety, values, and action. That is notated there so you can see it. So I was sitting here battling the outer masculine. I really between TE hero and any child. So I'm just sitting here, I was thinking TE is outer masculine and NE is inner feminine. And so I really just sat here and gruelingly just battled with myself on that. So to me, Taurus has come across masculine. That's definitely TE hero. That is what the psychological people would say. But I combine astro-psychology, astrology and psychology. Astrologically, you have the Venus and Earth here for Taurus ruling planets. Most astrologers do not actually use Earth, so I am trying to tick off everyone in every realm. So, astrologers, please look into the Earth and where that falls in the archetypes. I highly, highly suggest that you do that. Anyways, and then so we have the moon exalted and left field astrologically we have Pluto and Mars. So Taurus is pulling from Scorpio. And so I didn't add in Pluto here for ages. With Taurus, I am 10 years into this work and grind and researching and studying and video making, book writing. I've written like 30 plus books. Some of them are 500 pages, a lot of them are 200 plus pages. So I've really circled the archetypes over and over and over and over again. So I have never done a series like this before with the inner and outer containment, feminine and masculine containment in an archetype or personality type. And I also have never done a moral cognition, moral load bearing ranking, or a masculine and feminine. I've done masculine and feminine ranking in the past. Okay. So, anyways, yeah, so I just kind of wanted to go over why I finally came to the conclusion that TE hero with Venus and Earth is Taurus's outer feminine, and why extroverted intuition, child, Pluto, and Mars are their outer masculine. You would sit here and think, psychologically, you would think TE is masculine and NE is more feminine. Anyways, so I'm going to take this down for a moment and pull up another note. All right, so Taurus to me comes off masculine. So I am an Aries rising, 0 degrees. My whole birth chart is ruled by Mars. My Mars is in Taurus in the 2nd house. So I am very much so Taurian energy and 85% Capricorn or ISTJ. My mind is Aquarius INTJ 11th house. So I am just like, I have been trying to understand my own masculine and feminine forever. Forever. That's literally the root of my studies. Like why I got into all of this is because was so frustrated at myself. Like, why am I like this? So I'm extremely masculine by nature. Anyways, so I'm very, very heavily personally invested in trying to understand masculine and feminine polarity, power dynamics, you name it. It fascinates me. So, TE, extroverted thinking, is visibly directive. TE organizes, decides, executes, and speaks in conclusions. So that reads as confident, decisive, grounded, commanding, practical, and no nonsense. So culturally, that gets coded as masculine. But TE is just external structuring logic. It doesn't automatically mean inner masculine dominance or outer masculine dominance. It just means visible control of the environment. So, earth energy, they are earth elementally. Taurus is earth elementally, that represents thinking and practicality. They also have earth in their ruling planet. So, earth energy feels solid, not fluid. So, they're also fixed in their modality. They're very fixed on their thinking and practicality. They can be extremely stubborn. It's hard to persuade them to do anything if they don't want to do it. So water feels soft, air feels adaptable, fire feels expressive, earth feels immovable. It feels dense, immovable, stubborn. Immovable gets mistaken for masculine. but immovable can be feminine containment. Taurus stabilizes, they anchor, they hold ground. Holding ground is not the same as projecting force. It's containment strength. So they don't process out loud. Feminine polarity types often process relationally or verbally. Taurus processes internally. They don't dramatize, they don't seek reassurance constantly. That emotional minimalism reads as stoic. So both, I'm not even going to get into Capricorn right now. Let's stick to Taurus. Sorry. Stoic reads as masculine, but really it's I regulate internally. Tauruses act late, but when they do, it's final. When Taurus finally activates Mars, Any, and Pluto, it's decisive, it's clean, it's done. No back and forth, no emotional spiral, no negotiation. That decisiveness gets read as masculine dominance, but it's actually delayed sovereignty. So Taurus is feminine containment with masculine delivery. The base is stabilization through the feminine. Execution with directive masculine. So from the outside, Taurus looks structured and strong. From the inside, they are regulating safety first. So Taurus feels masculine because their TE is visible, but their motivation is not conquest, it's stabilization. They're not trying to dominate, they're trying to keep the floor from collapsing. So Taurus isn't masculine because they're force projecting. They're masculine presenting because their stabilization looks like control. But underneath, they're asking themselves, is this safe? Is this stable? Can I physically stay here? That is feminine containment logic. TE just makes it look sharp on the outside. That's why Taurus can sit quietly, say very little, and still feel like the most grounded person in the room. Not dominating, anchoring. So I just wanted to start there. All right. So let's get back into bringing up my notes. Let me try to adjust that just a little bit. Hopefully all of that is on the screen. Let me make sure. I feel like it's not all there. Okay, there. All right, hopefully that's legible enough, big enough. I can never tell with OBS. I'm looking at a screen and I can't even read that. And then when I watch it on video, I can read it. So it's quite wild. All right, so I'm going to jump straight into extroverted, intuition, child, Pluto, and Mars. So the first video, I deep dove into TE Hero, Venus, Earth, SI Parent, and Moon. So now this video is going to be about any child, Pluto, Mars, FI inferior, and Uranus, okay? And then we'll talk about healthy integration and Tauruses and relationships, men and women, etc., etc. So, alrighty, 13-minute introduction. Awesome. All right, Taurus has extroverted intuition, child, and Mars and Pluto in left field, which you will probably not hear from any other astrologer. That's totally fine. I am just like sitting here waiting to hear from all realms because like I totally cannot wait for the intellectual stimulation from people who have actually studied this stuff very deeply. It's just, I love it and I'm here for it. So this is Taurus's buried ignition chamber. I still had my fan on, for gosh sakes. All right, so the quadrant, this is the quadrant that explains why Taurus stays too long, why change comes late, why exits feel shocking, why they appear calm until they're done, why their transformations look sudden but aren't. So the child cognitive function, we're like childish, we're naive, we're slow moving with it. We don't use it when we're stressed out. It's a function that the child and inferior functions are not as easily used in our ego. And so it's just kind of an awkward left field. You're in left field. You're not feeling like you are doing what you're naturally good at. All right, so most people think Taurus is just slow. That's not it. Taurus metabolizes change underground. Hello, Pluto. So Mars, the energy of Mars is delayed. So it's delayed here. Mars and Pluto are delayed. Mars is Taurus's action engine. But because any child is suppressed, Mars does not fire early. There's no exploratory phase, no small boundary setting, no gradual course correction. Mars waits. Taurus absorbs, Taurus tolerates, Taurus stabilizes. Mars only comes online once the body reaches saturation. So when Taurus finally acts, people say, "Where did that come from?" But it didn't come from nowhere. They've been metabolizing in silence for years. Mars arrives late, which is why Taurus's exits feel abrupt, not impulsive, but delayed. This is Earth survival logic. Don't move until movement is unavoidable. So Taurus, it's really funny. It's like they dig their feet into the ground. Extremely stubborn, extremely routine. They just want to, be safe and comfortable. But once they have a very high endurance, but once they are freaking done, there is no argument. It's just done. Like when I'm done, it takes me a lot to get there, but once I'm done, burn bridges, it's done. Like there's no back and forth. I'm good. It takes a lot to get there, but once I'm done, there's no question. All right, so Pluto in left field, subterranean death and rebirth. So here's the part most systems miss. Pluto doesn't sit in Taurus's main stack. It lives in the left field through Scorpio polarity, meaning Taurus doesn't do surface level change. They do total internal reconfiguration. While they appear stable externally, Pluto is working internally, breaking emotional contracts, dissolving attachment threads, killing old identities, withdrawing libido from dead systems, and silently preparing departure. They don't argue, they don't negotiate, they detach internally first. By the time Taurus physically leaves, the relationship, job, life chapter is already dead inside them. This is Pluto operating under extroverted intuition and Mars. Suppressed possibility, delayed action, and total energetic severance, which produces ghost exits, sudden relocations, unexplained breakups, radical life pivots, scorched earth emotional closures. Not because Taurus is cruel, because Pluto only activates once containment has completely failed. They don't adjust, they end. How this shows up in real life. Unintegrated Taurus patterns. Stays too long, numbs instead of confronts, stabilizes dysfunction, avoids early conflict, exits suddenly, offers little explanation, and disconnects emotionally before leaving physically. People experience Taurus as solid until they're gone. That's any Mars and Pluto, not chaos, compression. Extroverted intuition child. So I did not plan. I always do this to myself. I didn't plan on doing this. If I can find my Scorpio book quickly, I thought I had it pulled up. There it is. All right, so the format on this specific book is messed up. That's going to drive me nuts. All right, give me one moment. I'm looking into my 500-page Scorpio book because Scorpio also uses extroverted intuition. So I'm going to bring up what I've already written on it. And my computer is being extra slow. All right, I'm trying to find my table of contents. There it is. All right, so I want to go more in depth with NE. All right, extroverted intuition. I found it. If I can fix the format on this, I don't know how it got screwed up. Why did that okay, see, I don't know what happened to this ebook. I've got it obviously uploaded on my website, so thankfully it's saved forever. And I've got, multiple copies on my phone. The whole table of contents just disappeared. Oh, there it is. Jeez. Something, I don't know if I saved this wrong, but the format is all whacked out. All right. Well, I'm not going to try to edit right now. I'm just going to jump to any and not touch anything because that just threw me to page 200. There it is. All right. I'm not touching anything else. All right. So extroverted intuition represents metaphysics, our future, prescience, and all futures. So NE or extroverted intuition is like a buckshot. That's a good analogy. Introverted intuition is like a sniper rifle. So NI users, they have one goal, one path to that goal. NE users, extroverted. So it's extroverted. You can see many future paths forward, many opportunities. Scorpios are very good at that. The grass is always greener. They're movement oriented. They're constantly moving, making connections socially. That can be to do with like business, buying things. They're just really good at, gaining opportunities or whatever the case may be. But it is in the child cognitive function here. So Taurus is not like that. All right. So what is NE? Oh my gosh, I hope this doesn't freak out. All right, so metaphysics, perceiving what exists behind physical reality. Prescience, sensing multiple possible futures at once. So while I am explaining this, this is left field for Taurus. Don't forget that. So they're not very good at this. Potential energy, the what might be field in quantum mechanics, collective unconscious, pattern recognition, merging trends across people, events, symbols, and timelines, what if thinking, limitless scenario generation, desire detection, picking up on what people secretly want, trend for forecasting, reading where situations or people are heading. NE expands outward, scanning for connections, emerging patterns, alternative interpretations, future paths, hidden meaning, options, and opportunities. So it never forces closure like TI or FI. All right. So if you observe a probability, you increase its chance of it happening. This is why NE users often accidentally manifest futures, good or bad, through observation, attention, or fear. All right. So it is considered a feminine yin function because it receives, absorbs, and adapts rather than forces. So that is the psychological arena. And in my containment series, it depends on the arc of development through the actual archetype, and it is based on pressure. It is based on moral load bearing. So this inner and outer the inner and outer quadrants are different than cognitive functions. So do keep that in mind. All right, signs of healthy high NE: reads relationships and situations deeply, notices what isn't said, generates new ideas, meaning, and pathways, acts as a fair neutral arbiter, sees both sides, adapts quickly, can see into other people's future behavior, outcomes, and life paths, uses SI experience to predict long range trends. Signs of unhealthy or overextended NE: unrealistic, scattered, or all over the place, stuck in endless options and indecision. So that's not NE. That's not really not what Taurus does. Or withdrawals when uncomfortable. That would be more Taurus. All right. So NE and SI is the timeline axis. NE is all futures, SI is all past, memory, and time. Together, they create the ability to compare past patterns to future potentials, anticipate event cycles, understand how behaviors repeat, warn others based on lived experience, guide people down positive or negative paths, alter the trajectory of relationships, careers, or identity. This is why any users often serve as guides, advisors, forecasters, and visionaries. It can be very mysterious to a lot of people, especially those in the psychological community. So, Carl Jung initially called it the collective unconscious, the what if, the future that we can sense. So, any becomes unrealistic and all over the place. I'm not going to get into that. So, any within the 12 archetypes. Let's see what I put in here for Taurus. I don't know if I actually put this in this book or not. Ooh, I did. Any child. Here we go. Who else has any child? I can't even remember. Okay, I don't cover that here. All right. So any child and any in the child position expresses itself as playful curiosity, innocent exploration, and a deep fascination with possibility. This is the part of the psyche that lights up around novelty. It wants to imagine, to experience, to see what happens without worrying about consequences. Any child loves spontaneity and is deeply drawn to people who embody flexibility, creativity, and open-mindedness. It marvels at those who move through life with ease and adaptability as if they're following invisible threads of potential. Yet, because it is a child function, it is also tender, easily overwhelmed, and quick to withdraw if mocked, judged, or shut down. When encouraged, any child brings imagination, openness, and refreshing sparks into the personality. When criticized, it retreats into safety and routine. At its best, any child helps a person see possibilities where others see limits. They approach life with wonder rather than fear and remain open to new futures that haven't yet taken shape. All right, so Taurus. What do I have for Taurus? I forgot all about writing this. All right, so let's see what we got. If I can get to the. Oh my gosh, this format is so screwed. Okay, so for the ESTJ or Taurus, extroverted intuition in the child slot shows up as a soft spot that contrasts sharply with their otherwise structured, decisive, and duty oriented nature. Their inner child is fascinated and almost enchanted by spontaneity, even though they personally prefer predictability, routine, and proven systems. There is a part of them that wants a kind of There's a part of them that watches the types like Scorpios, Libras. Scorpios and Libras fascinate Taurus because of their ability to be quick moving, see many different possibilities, wheel and deal. Scorpio and Libras are wheeler and dealers. Like, it's fascinating. So they see adaptability the way someone watches a bird take flight. How do they move like that? How do they pivot so quickly without losing their center? Their any child wants a taste of this freedom, but rarely grants itself permission. They admire spontaneity because it represents something they secretly long for: movement without fear, exploration without consequence, options without obligation. When any child activates in the ESTJ or Taurus, they may surprise others by making an impulsive suggestion, laughing at odd ideas. Now, Taurus, I have noticed my brother and Coach Colin on YouTube, he's a Taurus. Tauruses can be such amazing comedians, like comedians. And I have a feeling that a lot of that is any child. They're just hilarious. Hilarious. They got like this like dark vibe to them, like this mysterious, like, what are they actually going to say? And they're actually pretty intelligent. Very, very health conscious, very intelligent. It's hilarious to me. I just love their sense of humor. All right. So they may surprise others, laughing at odd ideas or entertaining possibilities they would normally shut down. That I just had an epiphany. I just had an epiphany. It is any child. Yes, because like they're so good at like the comedy comes out like literally storytelling on different possibilities. Watch Coach Colin on freaking YouTube. Like he will be talking about something and then he will just start like telling a story of like what if this happened, and it's extremely hilarious. That's what it is. Oh my god. I just had an epiphany. All right, so it's a rare glimpse into their imaginative inner world, usually hidden under TE logic and SI tradition. I just had an epiphany. I'm so freaking happy. That's hilarious. All right, so their any child energy gives them a surprising capacity for playfulness. I just lost my spot. All right, so this child function is delicate. If someone mocks their curiosity or ridicules them for not knowing, they immediately retreat back into TE authority. They protect the child by shutting down future speculation and insisting on practicality. However, when nurtured, any child brings warmth, creativity, and a refreshing openness to the Taurus's personality. It helps them see beyond rules, explore alternatives, and appreciate the perspectives of more abstract thinkers. Through any child, Taurus remembers that life isn't just about duty, it's also about wonder. Oh, I'm so glad I opened that. Yes. All right. I'm super happy. I just had an epiphany. I love comedians. Like I'm an Aquarian mind. So yeah, I love comedians. All right, so jumping back into what I was doing. That was an awesome little side rail. Love. All right. So extroverted intuition child, the suppressed dream layer. Any in Taurus is the part that imagines alternative timelines and futures, new paths, creative possibility, risk, change. Maybe life could be different. Spontaneous hope, disruption, reinvention, and experimental thinking. But NE threatens Earth stability. So Taurus suppresses it early. They learn stability matters more than exploration. So instead of activating possibility, they prioritize continuity. Any child becomes buried imagination. They tolerate misalignment, delay difficult conversations, endure stagnation, stay inside comfort loops, and rationalize staying. So NE goes dormant. Instead of imagining new realities, Taurus adapts to the current one. All right, so where are we at? This is their outer masculine. So this is where delayed action, sudden movement, and explosive change happens, where Taurus finally moves and everyone is confused. So this is a very delayed function for Taurus. All right, so I just wanted to hammer that in there. All right, so they don't explore options, they endure conditions, they don't fantasize escape, they stabilize inside discomfort. This creates a specific pattern. Taurus doesn't leave unhealthy environments, they outlast them. Endurance. They tell themselves it's not that bad, I can make this work, stability matters, at least it's predictable. Any child becomes a quiet whisper instead of an active guide. This heater always screws up my throat. I apologize. I almost spilled water all over myself. All right. Hope goes underground. Any only awakens under pressure. It wakes up when the body is exhausted, resentment has calcified, comfort becomes suffocation, Taurus destabilizes the environment. Or Uranus destabilizes the environment, sorry, when the inferior kicks online. That's like demon mode, borderline. That's why Taurus exits feel shocking. Any was never dead, it was dormant. Once it activates, it floods the system. Suddenly they see there are other ways to live. But because it wasn't integrated gradually, it arrives explosively. Healthy Taurus develops any early by choosing small disruptions, allowing new experiences, tolerating uncertainty, practicing change before collapse. Otherwise, any remains an emergency switch instead of a growth tool. Any child in Mars. This is Taurus's delayed activation quadrant. I need to clear my throat. I apologize. Any imagines alternatives, Mars initiates movement. But Taurus suppresses this early. So instead of I can change this, they default to let me just endure. This is why Taurus stays too long. They learned early dreaming doesn't pay bills, movement threatens stability. Taurus resists activating this layer because it disrupts comfort. They don't leap, they wait. They metabolize, they stay until they cannot. So imagination goes underground. I'm sorry, hold on. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Excuse me. Jesus is the worst throat tickle I've had. All right, give me a moment. I'm going to have to put some gum in my mouth. This is ridiculous. All right. I don't know what's going on. Allergies. Give me one moment. Might have some allergy stuff. Oh my god, I do have allergy stuff. I don't want to chew. I chew gum all the time. I've got very bad allergies. It's just something I've dealt with forever. All right, I'm going to put my allergy medicine in here. I do apologize. All right, so Taurus resists activating this layer because it disrupts comfort. They don't leap, they wait, they metabolize, they stay until they cannot. So imagination goes underground. Mars arrives late, which is why Taurus's exits look sudden. This is Taurus's weakest conscious zone. Sorry, I've got going on and off. This is like absolute chaos. All right. So Taurus does not argue their way out. Because they seem calm and then they're not, and you're like, oh my god. And there's no changing their mind when they hit that point. Once they hit any child, it's either going to be extremely playful or get the F out. There's like no in between. Like Scorpios, it's black and white. Like good effing luck. That can come out in Taurus, and you're like, holy crap, what is going on here? Taurus does not argue their way out. They endure, they tolerate, they numb, they disassociate into comfort. Then Uranus hits and they vanish. That's the sequence. So how this connects to Uranus and fall in FI inferior. This is where it all locks together. FI inferior holds Taurus's private values. They don't express dissatisfaction early. They store it. Uranus and fall means liberation doesn't happen gradually. There's no playful rebellion, no experimental freedom, no identity updates. Uranus comes in as rupture. So the full sequence becomes, any suppressed, Mars delayed, FI silent, Pluto underground. Uranus detonates, which produces sudden sovereignty, abrupt life changes, shocking detachment. I just woke up one day and I couldn't do it anymore. Not impulsively, delayed selfhood. All right, hopefully I can survive without gum. Oh my gosh. Struggling. All right, healthy integration of this quadrant. This is critical for the containment model. Taurus heals this by activating any in Mars before Pluto. This means naming dissatisfaction early, allowing imagination back online, experimenting with change while still safe, moving before numbness, choosing discomfort consciously, acting before Uranus forces rupture. So instead of stability, saturation, explosion, they learn imagination, movement, and adjustment. That's containment, that's regulation, that is adulthood. So Taurus doesn't change gradually, they change subterraneously. And he gets buried, Mars arrives late, and Pluto works in silence. So when Taurus finally moves, it looks sudden, but the transformation already happened inside. Healing Taurus means activating imagination and movement early, so Pluto doesn't have to burn the house down. All right, so now we're moving into the inner masculine of introverted feeling and in the inferior and Uranus. So I'm going to actually bring up FI because I didn't go as in depth in my notes. I mean, it's like 78 pages, but in my head, it's just not deep enough. Happens every time. Been doing this forever, and it's just not deep enough. I'm going to keep circulating around all of these personality types for the rest of my life. So here we are. All right, FI. There it is. All right, so let me see what I got in my notes. All right, so where are we going to start? All right, so we're going to start with Uranus and fall in Taurus. Liberation trapped in matter. Uranus is the planet of disruption, individuation, awakening, nervous system electricity, rebellion, higher timeline activation, and sudden breaks from conditioning. Uranus says become who you actually are. It destabilizes what is stagnant. It shocks identity out of inertia. It breaks continuity when continuity becomes imprisonment. But Taurus is fixed earth. Taurus is preservation, embodiment, material stability, comfort, routine, and resistance to change. So when Uranus enters Taurus, it enters the most resistant field possible. That's what in fall means here psychologically. The archetype most opposed to disruption is asked to host the planet of disruption, and that creates internal tension. What Uranus in fall feels like internally. For Taurus, Uranus does not feel like freedom, it feels like threat. Change doesn't feel exciting, it feels destabilizing. Individuation doesn't feel liberating, it feels unsafe. So Uranus gets suppressed. Thankfully, I have my Mercury in Aquarius in the 11th house. So hello, Uranus. Like, the psyche says, if I disrupt this, I might lose stability. If I change this, I might lose safety. If I assert myself, I might lose what I've built. So liberation is delayed, not denied, delayed. And delayed liberation becomes explosive liberation. Suppressed Uranus equals accumulated shock. Because Uranus is not gentle, it builds voltage. When suppressed in Taurus, it becomes quiet resentment, internal restlessness, irritability without expression, body tension, suppressed autonomy, and sudden desire to burn everything down. But Taurus doesn't burn things down like Scorpio. They endure until they can't. Uranus in fall doesn't whisper, it waits. Then it detonates. This is why Taurus rupture feels disproportionate to the visible problem. It wasn't about the last argument, it was about 5 years of unexpressed sovereignty. Why Taurus delays sovereignty? Taurus is organized around safety first, stability first. So the psyche prioritizes maintaining the job, maintaining the relationship, maintaining the home, the comfort, and maintaining financial ground. Uranus says, this isn't aligned. Taurus says, but it's stable. So Uranus gets put in a box. You know, put Aquarius in a box and see what happens. Isn't that hysterical? I crack myself up. All right, so let's put Uranus in a box. It'll be totally fine. And every time the body tolerates misalignment, Uranus stores voltage. Did that not give you goosebumps? It gave me goosebumps. Probably because it's 12 degrees in here, but I seriously have goosebumps. All right. Eventually, the body collapses, then Uranus takes over, and the exit looks abrupt, but it was inevitable. Uranus in fall creates the sudden Taurus. People stereotype Taurus as slow. They aren't. They are until they aren't. When Uranus activates fully, Taurus can be the bull in the china shop. I'm telling you, Taurus is the bull. Uranus in fall is Taurus the bull in the china shop, tearing the whole mother effer down. Like, seriously. When Uranus activates fully, Taurus can relocate quickly in long-term relationships overnight, change careers abruptly, detach emotionally without explanation, pivot identity fast. And everyone says, where did that come from? It came from suppressed Uranian electricity. It came from sovereignty that was postponed. It came from years of staying quiet. Uranus in fall doesn't create unpredictability, it creates compressed unpredictability. Healthy Uranus and Taurus. When integrated, Uranus and Taurus becomes incredibly powerful because then change is embodied, not reactive, not chaotic. Taurus learns to disrupt small things early, to tolerate instability in doses, to assert autonomy before collapse, to choose discomfort intentionally, and to move before stagnation calcifies. Healthy Uranus and Taurus looks like strategic reinvention, grounded innovation, financial independence through disruption, slow but intentional change, and sovereignty that doesn't destroy the body. This is different from Scorpio's explosive transformation. It's slower, but it is sustainable. Uranus in fall and the nervous system. Here's the deeper layer. Uranus governs electrical activation. Taurus governs the body. So Uranus and Taurus often manifest as nervous tension stored in muscles, restlessness beneath calm. Whew. Yeah, I'm an Aries rising, Mars and Taurus second house. I am a very it's such a wild thing because like I'm very there's it's like it's like the ramrod and the bull mixed together. And so it's like I don't know. Like I'm very curious how people like, you know, like I don't know. I just like I'm chill. I'm very chill, but I'm also very impatient. It's really really wild. My body language. I don't say much. It just depends on who you are. I'm a hardcore introvert, but like you can read my body language. I think most people are probably either intimidated or they're like, man, she has a lot of pent up energy. And I have insane endurance. Like Taurus Mars, I body built for a decade. Like I was hardcore into fitness, into Navy SEAL training, boxing, running. I was a runner, like just hardcore sports, pent up energy. Like I have to get it out physically. And I will get into that actually. A lot of pent up energy, and you have to ground that physically. So, all right. So the body becomes the container for suppressed liberation. That is why I body built hardcore naturally for a long time, very long time. And I need to get back into it actually. Not like, oh, I'm older now, so it's more of like maintaining, but just feeling your muscles. Like there's almost no better feeling than being actually fit and being able to flex your muscles. Oh, it's great. All right. So yeah, my brother and he was a Taurus. He is. I'm not gonna go into that. But anyway, we both body built together and it was just it was a good time back in the day. All right, so the body becomes the container for suppressed liberation. If Taurus never moves voluntarily, the body forces it. That is the shadow. Collective layer. So when Uranus transit Taurus collectively, we see financial systems. You know what? I think I put that in here because it actually is. Let me see the chart. Where is it? It is. So I do get into the collective. So collectively right now, Uranus is in Taurus. So I just felt like dropping this in here. Alrighty then. So collective layer, because we think systematically here. When Uranus transits Taurus collectively, like right now, we see financial system disruption, supply chain volatility, resource instability, currency shifts, food system change, land value transformation, because Uranus shocks whatever Taurus stabilizes. On a personal level, that mirrors if you overstabilize your life without sovereignty, Uranus will destabilize it for you. The developmental fix. Uranus in fall heals through conscious micro disruption, voluntary change, saying no early, adjusting course before rupture, redefining safety as adaptability. Taurus must learn stability is not stillness, stability is adaptability. So they wait for comfort to return before moving. If they wait for comfort to return before moving, they will always be late. If they move before collapse, Uranus becomes evolution instead of explosion. All right, so the real psychological meaning of Uranus in fall. So it means your liberation instincts feel unsafe, your autonomy impulses feel destabilizing, your independent voice feels risky, so you silence it until it screams. Uranus in fall in Taurus doesn't mean Taurus hates change. It means change terrifies their nervous system, so they delay it, and delayed liberation always arrives violently. So FI inferior with Uranus in fall. All right, so the delayed sovereignty axis. FI inferior in Taurus is not weak morality, it is private morality. Taurus does not externalize values early. They internalize, they endure, and they store. FI ask, what do I actually want? What feels aligned? What violates my integrity? But Taurus doesn't consult FI early. They consult comfort first. So dissatisfaction goes underground. Uranus in fall in Taurus creates tension between security versus liberation, stability versus disruption, and continuity versus autonomy. Uranus wants sudden change, Taurus wants predictability. So what happens? Liberation is delayed until it's forced. This creates the Taurus rupture pattern. Long silence, long tolerance, long endurance, sudden detachment, clean exit, and minimal explanation. It's not impulsive, it's accumulated sovereignty. Delayed sovereignty always feels abrupt to others. Healthy Taurus integrates FI gradually by naming dissatisfaction early, expressing needs before resentment, practicing boundaries without collapse, and allowing discomfort before eruption. Without that, Uranus becomes the executioner. This is Taurus's breaking point. This is Taurus's exit mechanism. FI says this no longer aligns with my values. Uranus says then I'm done. So this is Taurus's exit signature. Not rage, not argument, sudden withdrawal. They go from present to gone. No warning, no explanation. They don't threaten, they disconnect. Taurus does not fight for systems, they leave systems. This is why Taurus breakups feel so abrupt. The decision happened long ago in the body. Uranus just executes it. This is the deepest layer of Taurus because FI inferior in Taurus is not just weak feelings, it is buried selfhood. And when you combine that with Uranus in fall and Pluto in the left field, you get one of the most misunderstood emotional architectures in the zodiac. So, FI inferior. Introverted feeling in the inferior position, the hidden value core. FI is personal values, identity, integrity, internal moral alignment, emotional truth, subjective meaning. This matters to me. When FI is dominant, it is visible. When FI is inferior, like in Taurus, it is private, guarded, and underdeveloped, and that changes everything. All right, so now is a good time to get into what is FI. So, FI, according to the psychological arena, people, it is an introverted function according to psychology. So, introversion creates freedom through their own values, finds freedom within itself, but not expressive. They soak in depth, intensive, not extensive. So, FI in the psychological arena, represents morals, individual beliefs, and caring about their own values, really. So it's sympathy rather than empathy, principles, weighing things out, pushes for closure, how I feel, has emotional responses to data outside of them, morals, individual beliefs, redirects attention back to self. All right, so gosh darn, this format is insane. I'm going to have to re-upload this. All right, so introverted feeling, or FI, is the cognitive function responsible for moral judgment, personal values, and the inner compass of good versus bad. So, unlike extroverted feeling, which operates through collective ethics and social consensus, FI is deeply individualistic. It evaluates situations through personal meaning, not public logic or majority rule. FI asks one central question: is this good or bad for me according to my internal code? FI is the most private of all the feeling functions. It operates intensively, not extensively, like I said, a deep internal processing system that can take time to crystallize its judgments. This is why FI users often appear mysterious, slow to open up, or hard to read emotionally. Their emotional world is not broadcasted outward, it is held and distilled internally. When FI users finally decide how they feel it with conviction. Their values become sacred territory and they guard them fiercely. FI is paired with TE on an axis, which means that whenever FI is active, TE is always influencing and supporting it in the background. FI absorbs emotional impressions and internal moral data, while TE deals with external structure, credentials, and rational implementation. This creates a unique dynamic. FI users tend to trust expertise, credentials, and official sources more than raw data itself because TE gives them a sense of security. But they also use their personal values to judge those external sources. Where am I at? To judge whether those external sources feel right to them. I knew that was going to happen. I literally can't even scroll down. Okay, so at its core, FI is moral reasoning, not logical reasoning. FI users evaluate the world through emotional resonance, depth of experience, and internal truth. When they say, I feel this is true, they do not mean factual truth, they mean emotional truth. I am triggering the F out of you right now. That's totally fine. I'm not even in screen right now. All right, so the higher FI. Oh, okay. So because FI is introverted, this evaluation happens privately. All right. So the higher FI is in a person's cognitive stack, the quicker and stronger these moral impressions form. Okay, so because FI is internal, it often leads to strong personal identity, but it is in the inferior here. Loyalty to one's own values and the capacity to champion individuality and underdogs. FI users defend the right of the individual to be themselves even when society disapproves. They judge authenticity, sincerity, and moral integrity far more than social performance. While FE asks, how do we keep harmony among people? FI ask, am I being true to myself? All right, so I think that's all. Do I have anything else? Okay, let me see what I actually put for Taurus in here. That was fun. I'm gonna have to scroll through about 10 pages. Where are we at? Child, FI inferior. Here we go. So FI inferior, Gemini and Taurus both have this. All right, so here we go. Taurus FI inferior hides its vulnerability beneath structure, order, tradition, and constant motion. They seek external control because internal emotional territory feels unpredictable, even chaotic. So, Gemini and Taurus have quite a bit in common with this. So, their vice is chaos, the emotional storm that erupts when the inner world finally breaks through their outer stoicism. Their virtue is serenity, the deep calm that emerges once they accept that feelings are not failures. Healthy Tauruses bring stability, loyalty, fairness, and grounded leadership into every sphere of life. Unhealthy Taurus becomes controlling, rigid, moralistic, or explosive when their emotions overwhelm their TE dominant structure. Their healing starts with a simple truth: you are allowed to feel before you fix. So they rely heavily on TE and SI to control their environment. Their FI inferior is highly sensitive, but they often hide it behind discipline, rules, and productivity. They treat emotional security as something that must be earned through order. Healthy FI inferior exudes calm, creates stability, protects family and community, uses TE to build security, shows love through reliability and duty, and grows softer with age. So they also are good leaders, mentors. A lot of Tauruses are actually fitness trainers. A lot of them, this is funny. Taurus personality, the gym rat population, mostly Taurus, mostly Taurus. A lot of them are personal trainers, fitness coaches, whatever, the physical therapy, stuff like that, coaching sports teams, tons and tons of Tauruses. So, let's see. Okay, so FI inferior is highly sensitive. They often hide it behind discipline, rules, and productivity. They treat emotional security as something that must be earned through order. All right, so the unhealthy FI inferior becomes emotionally chaotic underneath rigid routines, micromanages or criticizes others, overreacts emotionally when insecure, cannot handle emotional ambiguity, becomes controlling or intense, confuses productivity with worth. Taurus's healing begins with the realization I can be respected without being feared. So, sorry, I work a full shift and then I come home and work my second job, which is this. So, I have been running on very low batteries the last few nights, but I am bound and determined, and I'm a Martian Taurus, so endurance. We're hammering it out with productivity, especially when I'm emotional. When I'm emotional or I'm going through something, it is the gym or it's writing a bazillion books and doing these lectures. So I'm extremely productive human being. Yeah, sleep when you die is my thing. All right, so what FI inferior actually means. So we're jumping back into the other notes. It does not mean Taurus has no values. It means their values are not consciously articulated early. They don't grow up asking, how do I feel about this? They grow up asking, what works, what's practical, what is stable. what needs to be handled. TE hero organizes the world. FI sits quietly underneath it. So Taurus learns to structure reality before they learn to name their inner truth. That's the distortion seed. TE hero over FI inferior. TE hero says manage it, fix it, organize it, endure it, make it functional. FI inferior whispers, I don't like this, I feel unseen, this isn't aligned, I'm tired. But FI, I'm a living, breathing example right now. But FI is not trusted. It feels fragile. It feels destabilizing. It feels indulgent. So Taurus overrides it. They manage reality instead of checking alignment. They fix systems instead of asking whether they belong inside them. They perform responsibility instead of expressing selfhood. That's why Taurus can look solid while internally misaligned. All right, FI inferior equals delayed dissatisfaction. So this is the key pattern. Taurus does not complain early. They do not protest early. They do not express emotional discontent in small doses. They store it because FI is inferior. Emotional truth doesn't get language. It becomes body tension, silence, withdrawal, routine, comfort seeking, numbness. They won't say this hurts, they'll just slowly disengage or overfunction. And because TE keeps functioning, people think everything is fine until it isn't. FI inferior and Uranus in fall. So this is where it gets explosive. FI inferior holds unexpressed value conflict. Uranus in fall delays liberation. So the internal sequence becomes misalignment, silence, continued performance, increasing resentment, emotional withdrawal, body saturation, and sudden rupture. I don't know why I'm leaning over there so much. All right, so when FI finally surfaces, it does not negotiate. It severs. It doesn't say, can we talk about this? It says, I'm done. Not because Taurus is cold, because FI was suppressed for too long. I can't get this where I want it. And when inferior functions finally activate, they don't activate gently. They activate under pressure. FI inferior and identity confusion. Another subtle layer. Taurus can be deeply unsure of who they are emotionally, not because they lack identity, but because identity was never explored intentionally. They know what works. I need to, I'm sore tonight. That's what's going on. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely sore. All right, so I'm getting too comfortable on here. All right. So they know what works, what's reliable, what's productive, what's safe, what's comfortable, but they may not know what they actually want, what they actually believe, what they feel about something privately, and what makes them come alive. FI inferior makes emotional self definition slow. They define themselves by structure first, by stability first, by material success first. Only later do they ask, is this actually me? That's a terrifying question for Taurus, but it threatens continuity. How FI inferior shows up in relationships. Unintegrated Taurus doesn't voice needs early, avoids emotional confrontation, tolerates misalignment, gives more than they express, withdraws silently, and detaches before explaining. They won't fight, they'll fade. They won't argue values, they will revoke access. They don't weaponize emotion like Scorpio, they withhold presence. That's FI retreating. FI inferior under stress. When highly stressed, Taurus can flip into moral rigidity, sudden judgment, harsh value declarations, cold emotional distancing. I never mattered here anyway. This is inferior FI flooding. It doesn't come out as nuanced emotion. It comes out as absolute and final, non negotiable, because it hasn't been practiced, it hasn't been integrated. Healthy FI development for Taurus. This is a healing path. Taurus must learn to name discomfort early, express dissatisfaction before resentment, articulate values in calm states, say this matters to me without apology, choose alignment before collapse, tolerate small disruptions in order to preserve long term integrity. Healthy FI in Taurus looks like quiet but firm boundaries, steady moral clarity, self defined standards, emotionally congruent action, and leaving when misaligned, not when broken. This prevents Uranus rupture, this prevents Pluto severance, and this prevents dorsal vagal numbness. The deepest FI inferior truth. Taurus does not lack feeling, they lack early permission to prioritize it. They were rewarded for stability, performance, reliability, endurance, and material grounding, not for emotional self expression, inner truth exploration, identity experimentation, and subjective preference. So FI becomes a private vault. And when that vault finally opens, it changes everything. So Taurus doesn't lack values, they lack early practice expressing them. So they manage reality for years while their private truth waits underground. And when FI finally surfaces, it doesn't adjust, it ends. All right, so Taurus's collapse pattern. Taurus does not burn like Scorpio. They do not calcify like Virgo. They do not brace like Capricorn. They do not dissolve like Cancer. Taurus shuts down. When Taurus is uncontained, Venus seeks comfort, SI repeats routines, Moon suppresses emotion, NE shuts down, Mars stays dormant. They become stagnant, indulgent, avoidant, resistant to growth, emotionally unavailable, and physically present but spiritually absent. This is Taurus freeze, not collapse. They become numb, immobile, indulgent, avoidant, and comfort seeking. They regulate pain through food, sleep, sex, distraction, or routine. This is nervous system self soothing, but when prolonged, it becomes stagnation. So, Taurus burnout. Taurus burns out through emotional suppression, unresolved grief in the body, stagnation, comfort addiction, and avoiding necessary change. They don't explode, they wither. Life becomes smaller, pleasure replaces growth, and routine replaces evolution. All right, so Taurus's integration, this is the medicine. Taurus must consciously develop inner masculine. So when you've got a funny Taurus, hopefully that's a good sign that they are on the path to integration. So they must learn to move before comfort returns, to act before numbness sets in, to choose discomfort intentionally, to express dissatisfaction early, and to let go before their body collapses. They must stop using comfort as regulation. They must build value-based action. Taurus healing requirements: boundaries, discomfort tolerance, conscious change, value-based action, and nervous system activation. So they must learn safety is not the same as growth, comfort is not the same as alignment, and stillness is not the same as peace. Taurus heals through movement. Not talking, not insight, movement. Somatic activation. Hopefully this was close enough to my face. Taurus heals through body movement, somatic release, cold exposure, heat therapy, breath work, conscious disruption of routine, physical boundaries, learning to choose discomfort. Taurus is not healed by talking, they heal by moving. Moving. Strength training, nature immersion, intentionally moving your body. That could be bodybuilding, yoga, walking, whatever. They must teach their body change is survivable. That is Taurus liberation. So, Taurus's final spiritual lesson: Virgo learns worth without usefulness. Taurus learns safety without stagnation. They must learn that peace does not come from avoiding change, it comes from participating in life. So, Taurus in relationships. Taurus loves through consistency, touch, loyalty, shared routines, and physical presence. Hello, five senses. They don't sensual. They don't offer insight like Scorpio. They don't offer repair like Virgo. They offer stability. But Taurus avoids emotional confrontation. They will stay unhappy rather than destabilize peace until Uranus activates. Then they disappear. So, Taurus men versus Taurus women. General tendency, nervous system expression. Taurus men often lean heavily into T, hero, and provider architecture. Their sense of worth becomes externally measurable income, stability, protection, and productivity. They feel safest when they are useful. Many Taurus men learned early that love is conditional on output. So they overwork, suppress emotion, and build material competence while quietly losing touch with their inner world. They rarely articulate dissatisfaction. Instead, they carry it silently in the body. They become dependable but emotionally opaque, present but unavailable, reliable but disconnected. Their nervous systems stay in endurance mode and they detach internally long before they ever leave physically. When Taurus men collapse, it rarely looks dramatic. It shows up somatically. Chronic fatigue, weight gain or sudden loss, comfort addictions, low grade depression, physical shutdown, and quiet resentment. They stop investing emotionally even while still showing up materially. By the time they walk away, they've already been gone for months or years. Taurus women often lean more towards Venus and Earth embodiment. Their nervous systems regulate through home, food, routine, touch, and relational consistency. They stabilize environments. They create warmth. They hold space. They keep things running. They frequently become the physical anchor of relationships, cooking, organizing, soothing, and maintaining. They tolerate misalignment longer than they should because their bodies prioritize continuity over conflict. Emotional discomfort is absorbed quietly, stored semantically, and managed through comfort. They avoid confrontation not because they lack strength, but because disruption feels unsafe. Their collapse looks different but follows the same pattern. Exhaustion, loss of vitality, emotional muting, numbing behaviors, quiet detachment, and sudden internal value shifts. They don't argue, they withdraw. They don't dramatize, they disappear emotionally before leaving physically. Both Taurus men and women share the same core distortion. They avoid early confrontation, they endure, they numb, they leave late. Not because they are passive, because their nervous systems prioritize stability over expression until stability becomes suffocating. How to love a Taurus. So, loving a Taurus means understanding that their body comes first. So, we're talking containment and nervous system work. Not their thoughts, not their emotions, their nervous system. You cannot rush a Taurus into emotional processing. You cannot destabilize them impulsively. You cannot weaponize unpredictability. They require consistency, physical presence, follow through, predictability, tangible reality, and honesty about change. They need to feel safe in their environment before they can access their emotional truth. But here's what most people miss. If you only provide comfort, Taurus stagnates. They also need activation. They need gentle disruption, invitations to move, encouragement to name values, space to assert sovereignty, support when choosing discomfort. They need both safety and evolution. Too much chaos and they shut down, too much comfort and they fossilize. Balanced Taurus thrives in structured stability that still evolves. They don't need intensity, they need continuity with direction. All right, so what Taurus actually needs? Not comfort, containment. Taurus doesn't need more softness, they need containment. Containment means inner masculine sovereignty, conscious choice, movement before numbness, boundaries before resentment, discomfort, tolerance, and agency inside embodiment. Taurus must learn comfort is not peace, stillness is not safety, Endurance is not loyalty, and silence is not alignment. They often confuse survival with devotion. They stay because it's familiar, they endure because it's stable, they tolerate because it's predictable. But integration requires something else. They must learn to choose themselves before collapse. They need permission to change, permission to disrupt, permission to move even when it feels unsafe. True Taurus maturity comes when they realize embodiment without agency becomes imprisonment. All right. So, I'm at the last couple pages. So, Taurus doesn't carry the world, they carry the body inside it. They are the archetype that asks, can I stay here physically? They measure life through sensation, comfort, safety, pleasure, pain, and environment. But when Taurus refuses to move, when comfort replaces growth, when stability replaces sovereignty, life stops flowing. Because embodiment without agency becomes paralysis. And the earth sign that was meant to ground reality becomes stuck inside of it. All right, we are on my outro. Woohoo! We made it. Hour and a half. 1, 2. So Taurus took 2.5 hours. Woohoo! I feel so much better. All right, so now we are getting into Pisces. All right, let's see if I can bring them both up. Where is Pisces at? Oh, I think where did Pisces go? Where are you? Did I really? Oh, here it is. Found it. I need to send in a complaint to OBS. Geez, why did they make it like that? I just want to click on it and drag. All right, there we go. All right, so we are entering the outro. Woohoo. All right, so Taurus teaches us what happens when the body carries everything. So Taurus and Pisces are tier 2 moral load bearers, the bypass axis. So watch the first video of Taurus if you're confused. It really would help if you started at the first video. So Taurus teaches us what happens when the body carries everything. Pisces teaches us what happens when the soul does. Taurus regulates through embodiment. Pisces regulates through transcendence. One numbs into matter, the other dissolves into spirit. Neither naturally holds consequence. And this is where tier 3 becomes visible in the collective. Because Taurus doesn't carry moral load, they carry sensation. Pisces doesn't carry moral load, they carry meaning. They do, they're on tier 3. It's like they can go both ways. They naturally don't want to hold consequences or moral load. They want to dissolve or just dissolution for Pisces for sure, and indulging into comfort with Taurus. So that's their natural state. They will hold it when they are integrated and developed and aware. But yeah, so Taurus asks, can I stay comfortable here? Pisces asks, can I escape this emotionally? Dun dun dun. And together they form what I call the great bypass axis. This is modern spiritual culture. I hate New Age. I'm not even gonna get into it. This is just feel good. This is just let it go. This is embodiment without accountability and transcendence without containment. Tier 1 and Tier 2 archetypes are still carrying attachment, maintenance, corruption, and consequence. They're holding the structure of reality while Tier 3 tries to soften it. Oh, I should have brought up my master. I don't think I did that in this video. I am just running on running on E. Here we go. I'm just going to bring this up. Wah, there you go. There is the tiers. So Capricorn, Scorpio, tier 1, Cancer, Virgo, tier 2, Taurus, Pisces, tier 3, and then I will be getting into tier 4 with the rest. That'll be fun. All right, so Pisces. So Pisces isn't here to fix the world. Pisces is here to remind us what the world feels like when we stop fighting it. But without containment, Pisces doesn't heal pain. Pisces dissolves it. And that's where we are going into next, because Pisces doesn't burn out like Virgo. Pisces doesn't harden like Capricorn. Pisces doesn't weaponize truth like Scorpio. Pisces doesn't numb like Taurus. Pisces disappears into fantasy, into spirituality, into sacrifice, into savior loops, into other people's emotions. Pisces collapses through diffusion. So in the next video, we're going to break down Pisces developmental distortion, containment sequence, spiritual bypass versus embodied compassion, savior patterns, victim rescuer loops, emotional flooding, boundary loss, and how Pisces actually integrates back into sovereignty. Because Pisces is not weak, Pisces is uncontained infinity. And infinity without structure becomes drowning. So if Taurus teaches us how the body freezes, Pisces teaches us how the soul evaporates. And integration means learning how to stay. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed this video. Certainly like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. I do have an ego book for Taurus. I can't exactly remember how many pages, probably 200 pages. It's Astro-Psychology. It's very well organized and put together. It is not the moral load or masculine and feminine ranking. It's specifically on the ego itself through the astro-psychological lens. I am working on my moral load ranking book now. It's probably going to be like 600 pages. It is going to be a master framework book in itself. So when I'm done with this series, that will be available for purchase. And hopefully I can remember to put it in all of these videos, descriptions when I actually upload it online. So, anywho's, hope you enjoyed this video. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take care, y'all.